Hey everyone, I recently returned from Alaska DIY drop-off moose hunt with my brother, and Brady was along to film it. Fortunately, we were both able to harvest great bulls. This was a 65-inch bull I was able to shoot. My brother also shot a 67-inch bull, so we had a great time, and we're gonna go over all the gear it took to get there. As I said, this was a DIY drop-off hunt. We got dropped off on a big lake with a beaver on floats, and so we were limited to about 1,200 pounds of weight. That was including the three of us and all of our gear. So over the summer I had to go through, basically break down each item by weight to make sure we were going to hit that on this trip, so we didn't have to pay for 2 charter flights. So I'm going to kind of go through each category on what we brought from the boat all the way down to personal items. First thing we're going to go over is the Watercraft category. Like I said, I shipped up a 14-foot inflatable raft. I then borrowed a 15 horsepower outboard motor from a buddy in Alaska. And then along with that, we had the 6-gallon gas can that went with it. We then borrowed 2 more 5-gallon gas cans. We weren't sure how much fuel we were going to need up there, but based off of other people that I've talked to that have done hunts like this, we figured we'd be safe with about 15 gallons. With the boat, we had oars, 2 air pumps. I wanted to bring 2 just in case one failed, and if not, we would have had no way to get that thing inflated. Also had some inflatable life vests we brought along, and then an extra boat prop as well. And then I did bring 2 unchartered rapid rafts. Those things only weigh about 4 pounds a piece, so we had those with us in our main boat at all times, just in case we had to cross rivers, or we had a leak, or even haul moose meat out. So that was kind of the basis of transportation. Again, that was a big bulk of weight and gear that we brought with us to make this hunt possible. Moving on to weapons, I did bring a bow on this hunt as well as a rifle. The rifle my brother and I shared, and the gun was compact enough that I was able to ship them both up in the same hard case with me. And then from there, when we got to where we were going and onto the beaver, I ditched the hard case and had a soft case for both the bow and the rifle. Obviously I had about a dozen arrows with me, broadheads, bow fully loaded. We brought 40 rounds of 300 Win for the rifle, and then I also brought my SIG X10 10 mil. I packed that around on the gunslinger chest rig majority of the hunt. I brought an extra mag for the pistol just in case going through the brush I lost one. Had 20 rounds of ammo for that. I brought the Spartan little carbon bipod to go on the rifle, as well as a shooting bag. Been using this the last couple years. It's a great combo item. You can use it as a seat when you're sitting around, a pillow, and a shooting rest, and it definitely makes taking those longer shots more comfortable. For a bow target, I actually took the fabric that we had rolled our raft up in and rolled it pretty compact, and then basically just tied it to a tree in camp so I could shoot my bow every couple of days, which worked well because hauling an archery target is a little bulky, so I kind of used that as a dual purpose while we were there. Optics wise, again, we were fairly limited on weight, so went pretty lean. I was packing the SIG Zulu 6 10x30 image stabilizing binos. Again, been running these for a few years, absolutely love them. I had the SIG Kilo 8K rangefinder. Nice thing about this is I could switch from archery mode to ballistics mode. So just given the scenario, super nice that you're not doing any guesswork there. And then I ran those, my Outdoor Visions bino harness, In the harness as well, I had my wind checker, obviously a rain fly, extra batteries. I ran a knife in here, some chapstick, and then my hunting license. And then I also brought the Swaro 20 to 60 by 65 and the Sure tripod and the Tricer head. Where we weren't doing, we couldn't see a ton of country, and so you know, we didn't need any big spotters or extra tripods for stuff like that, and it really helped keep down on the weight. Then my brother, he just packed the 16 power Zulu 6 as well. We shared the rangefinder, and that was about it for optics. Getting into the camp system, again, this was another big portion of our weight. There was 3 of us, so we actually just packed the Stone Glacier Skydome 6P tent. I was really impressed with that. It actually gave us a lot of room. The footprint is big, but it's not as tall as like a traditional teepee of the same size. So we actually found a nice little nook inside the trees that we were able to set it up in. We also had it equipped with a titanium stove. We then took a couple tarps. I had some 12 by 14 tarps. One of them we used underneath the tent, just kind of as an extra barrier to moisture. And then we took the second one and built basically an outside area outside of our tent, just to be able to, you know, get out of our gaiters, get out of our boots, cook some meals out there. So it worked out pretty nice, and we had a good area in camp. Sleep system, I ran the Stone Glacier 0 degree bag. It was pretty comfortable up there. And then I had the Climate Static V Luxe sleeping pad. And I also brought an X-Ped, more of a traditional pillow. When you're in the field for 12 days, you want to be comfortable. I actually slept great most nights. Temperature-wise, the sleeping bag I thought was perfect. My brother had the 15 degree bag. No complaints there. We also, another really nice little item we had with this Luminade inflatable lantern. It worked great. It actually, all 12 days, the battery lasted. We also had a bear fence we brought with us. We didn't set it up the first night, and then a bear got to our tent the second day when we were out, ate a nice hole in it. So we ended up setting that up the second night of the trip and kept up the entire time. But cook-wise, whatnot, we brought a couple different options. Again, when you go to Alaska, it's nice to have a spare. So I brought the Jetboil Stash stove there. I also had a little MSR pocket stove with this pot and pan, and then I brought a little another cooking pan there as well. Sea to Summit Delta Bowl, I believe. We had 6 canisters of fuel, just the little ones there. That was pretty lean with 3 of us. We ended up doing coffee at least 1 to 2 times a day on the mountain. And then between all the meals we were cooking for lunch, breakfast, and dinner, it got a little lean there. So that's one thing to consider. And those we actually picked up as well up in Anchorage, because you can't fly with those, and then we shipped them prior to the hunt. Brought a couple little cups. One was a collapsible cup bowl. I brought it each day with me into the field. I had another little aluminum one for around camp. Couple 32-ounce water bottles that I packed most days. We weren't doing a ton of hiking, and since we were right on the lake, water was readily available. Brady packed this little Grail filter with him most days, which was pretty slick. You don't need any pumps or anything. You literally fill the sucker up with water, compress it. There's a filter inside that strains everything out for you. So that was pretty slick to have with us as well. And then for our main water in camp, we ran a 1-gallon bag with an inline filter here. and we just ran that into a 5-gallon bag below. We'd do a couple gallons in the morning, a couple gallons in the evening. Worked pretty slick. Again, camped right on the lake. The only ticket to doing that is you want to make sure you bring your little syringe to use as a backflow. These little filters, they can get clogged up pretty quick if you're not looking out for that. So about every day, every other day, we back flushed that, and it worked well throughout the entire hunt. Food wise, we pretty much lived off of, well, I pretty much lived off a peak. Brady and Kayla brought some more normal food with them, but again, trying to keep down on weight. We did have the option to bring in some real food with us, which we brought a couple pounds of bacon, and that was about it. So yeah, 2 to 3 peaks a day. I even brought a couple cobblers. We split throughout the trip. Brought some seasonings. That was in case we caught any fish, which we did not, but we used it on moose meat. A little pre-made salt and pepper. Brady even brought a bottle of hot sauce that we went through pretty quick. So, and then also another good way to mix it up is we brought some Idahoans with us. Again, we had those a few nights with moose meat. So having that, you know, some items that aren't freeze dried makes it nice to break it up, especially on a 12-day trip. Lunch, I went pretty simple and pretty much did almost the same thing every day, which looking back on it, I should have mixed it up a little more. Got a little boring. Brady brought a variety of snacks and was kind enough to share with us. But again, this was like, I think 2,200 calories or something right in there. Had a meat stick, a couple things, a trail mix, RX bar, some gummy bears, and then top ramen and some other various little bars in there. But the top ramen, I really enjoyed that. Having a warm meal that was a little different for lunch was pretty nice. Then we also brought coffee. Like I said, we had some trail packs of coffee 1 or 2 times a day, as well as electrolyte mix or energy focus, hydrate recovery. So again, all those definitely help when you're wearing your body out each day. Moving on to essentials. This one can get pretty much as personal as you want and whatnot. I brought a little towel with me, which we did take one dip in the lake, which was extremely cold. Obviously dude wipes. I had some soaps, toothbrush, toothpaste, and then medical kit, over-the-counter pharmaceuticals, Benadryl, NyQuil, Dayquil, some itch cream, yeah, some tape and super glue and whatnot. Again, it all depends on your comfort level and what you want to bring with you. When you're literally hundreds of miles away from anything, and you know, it could be days or hours before someone could get to you if something bad happened, it's not bad to overplan on your medical kit in Alaska. My brother, he brought more of a true kit with him, and so I just stuck to my basic kits there. Also had some hand sanitizer. Again, when you're out in the woods for 12 days, just kind of keeping a way to get some disinfectant when you're handling, you know, or around dead animals, meat and everything. So having that to clean up a little is nice. Also brought bug net and bug spray. The bugs were fairly bad. We use these, I would say about every day, every other day. And then I had 1 bottle of DEET that we went through. So anytime you go to Alaska in September, it was fairly warm, you're probably going to be dealing with bugs. On the electronic side of things, I brought 3 of these battery booster packs with me. Basically all I had to recharge was my phone, my headlamp, and my Garmin. again, we didn't use our headlamps a ton just because we had the lantern in the tent at night. And then most mornings we were leaving right at gray light and getting back just after dark. But I did have a spare headlamp with me that takes batteries. This one's rechargeable, the Swift RL. Super nice one that I've been running for a couple of years. Then I had all my charging cords, extra batteries, AAA, AA's, and then extra batteries for my rangefinder and binos as well. And again, on 12 days, we weren't using our phones a ton. The Garmin's have really good battery life, so those lasted the entire time. If we would have been there another day or two, it would have been questionable on charging everything, but it was good enough for what we were doing. Other items that I brought, I had a little kit here. This had like Allen set, some wind checker, extra clips, 550 cord, a couple lighters, pyro putty and whatnot. So kind of all your basic survival essentials or essentials you need in case anything goes down. Also had a SOG multi-tool with us. Then I brought 3 different knives, ranging from the little Goat Ibex replaceable blade, the Outdoor Edge EDC 3.5, and then the Montana Knife Company Speed Goat, and then a sharpener with those. And then I had about 20 extra blades for each of the replaceable knives. And again, moose are big animals. Their hides are tough. They've got a lot of dirt in them. So having a replaceable blade knife that you can cut that outer hide with, joints, bones, when you're caping out an animal, running up against the teeth and the burrs. Having those knives with replaceable blades were nice, like I said, for working around that stuff. And then we used the fixed blade for the hide up on the back of their neck is super thick, so having a strong blade there and then doing your cuts under the hide worked well for that. And we only had to sharpen it a couple times. So other supplies and tools that we brought, might look a little overkill here, but I did bring a collapsible fishing rod and a little lure kit with us. Like I said, we didn't end up using that. The lake we were in was pretty murky, but I had a pair of pruners with me. That was recommended by Garth, who did a hunt last year in thick alders, and so I packed those around just in case we shot a moose in a thick area. Also had the Silky Big Boy saw, and then the Silky Pocket Boy, and these saws are awesome. I've had a lot of saws over the years that have broke. They go dull, they bend, they flex. These suckers are super sharp, super strong. We use them pretty much every day, from trimming some stuff around camp, putting up meat poles, cutting out the ribs on the moose. So those are super helpful to have. I had a little SOG hatchet with me, as well as a bigger axe. Like I mentioned, where we were camping, there was quite a few trees around, and it was pretty wooded, and with the stove and whatnot, it was nice to have that bigger axe in camp for cutting firewood. Also brought a little socket with us for the boat prop, which we did have to use. Thankfully we had that. I also brought 12 feet of tie wire with us. Again, you're in Alaska, and it's nice to have something strong like that. Also brought a pair of leather gloves. Again, these were just for around camp and then handling the wood stove and whatnot. That way I wasn't melting or ripping my other gloves I had. Also brought a little kit, some Sharpies, zip ties, a couple rolls of duct tape. We really didn't need that in the field. We ended up using it back at the outfitter's place before we shipped our moose out. So again, Alaska's remote. They don't have a lot of these supplies up there. They're not readily available. So it's a good thing to be considerate to bring with you, and it's nice to have because you really can't just run down and grab them. Also had a couple little pulleys. Did not use them, but again, you never know. A portable scale, brought that into the field with us. That was just to help weigh the quarters, to kind of give the pilot an idea on how much weight he was bringing out. And I had about 150 feet of 550 and paracord with us. I probably would have brought another 50 feet. We burnt through almost all of it, again, from, strapping up the meat poles, the 12 by 14 tarp outside of our tent. So we burnt through quite a bit of that. And so, yeah, I would recommend at least 200 feet if I was doing it over. Kill kit. I brought a couple meat tarps with us, and then a forged moose set, a couple heavy duty contractor bags. Obviously, I brought about a dozen sets of gloves. Again, just try to keep a little cleaner when you're out there for so long. The moose, actually, we went through more meat bags than I thought we were going to. Moose are big animals. Obviously, you're going to have 4 quarter bags. Where we were, you had to keep the ribs on bone, and so those each took a full bag as well. Back straps, tenderloins in another bag, and then all the scrap meat, neck meat. I think we had like 80 to 90 pounds of neck meat per moose, and then all that other scrap meat that you want to pull off of there. So planning for 8 to 10 bags per moose would probably be pretty ideal. And then you want to get it basically high and dry in Alaska so it doesn't spoil, just kind of depending on the timeline when your pilot thinks he can get in to pull the meat out. So having an extra tarp to cover that meat once it's up off the ground is ideal. I also brought a can of this Coolabuck carcass spray with us. We did not use it, but again, like I said, they might not be able to get your meat out of the field right away. So having some type of item like that can help the longevity of that might be useful. Moving on to the pack system, I had the Stone Glacier Sky 5900. Had it equipped with the Hydra holster and a large pocket on the side to kind of keep my headlamp in reach and stuff right there. Obviously a rain fly with it. I was a little worried that we might be undergun if we shot a moose and had to pack it very far, but with my brother's bull, we had to pack him about 500 yards, and it was no problem. We were able to strap a hind quarter, which was about 125 pounds on this thing. The straps extended far enough that we were able to get that secure, so no issue there. Fortunately, my moose died in the water. We were able to drag him right to shore, so we really didn't even have to pack that one. But I know a lot of guys like pack frames, but I can tell you that you don't want to pack a moose very far, so this pack was absolutely fine for that. All right, now we'll run through kind of the clothing system. This was the first trip I had actually really used Stone Glacier on. I was a little nervous, and again, when you're looking at a big hunt like this and you have to be selective on what to bring, I was able to narrow it down, and I actually felt like I did pretty good. There wasn't anything I wish I would have had or anything that didn't perform as well as I was hoping it would. So starting with the gloves, I had their basically their fleece glove. Pretty much wore that every day. Again, temps were in that mid 40s, upper 30s most days. And then I had their altimeter gloves, which are basically a waterproof shell, and they have an insulation liner inside of them. So when it was a little cooler, I was actually just pulling the insulation liner out using that. If it was raining, I was either putting my fleece or insulation back into the outer shell of those, and it worked pretty dang slick. I brought 6 to 7 pairs of merino briefs, and same with socks up there. I felt like that was a pretty good number. Wore each set pretty much 2 days and then switched them out. Base layer, I had the Chinook merino bottom and then merino hoodies. I had 2 hoodies, one of the bottoms, and one of the hoodies and the bottom I just wore pretty much in the tent at night, and then the other set I just had as a base layer each day. And then I had a merino crew short sleeve and long sleeve, which I didn't even really use those. But again, 12 days, you're not really sure how dirty you're gonna get, I guess. So having an extra shirt and something you can crawl in your sleeping bag and feel a little cleaner is nice to have. Mid layer, I had the Helio hoodie and the Helio zip off bottoms. I had 2 hoodies with me, just one of the bottoms, which I wore daily as my mid layer. I also had a pair of the de Havilland light pants, but I don't even think I wore those. Those were just in case I needed another layer to go on under my waders, but the Chinook zip offs were good for me every day. Insulation layer, I brought the Cirque vest and then the Grumman down pant and jacket. Again, with temps in the 40s range, we weren't doing much hiking. It was about a mile a day, and so each day I would put on my base layer, my mid layer, the vest, and then I would either throw on the down when we got to where we were going, or if it was extra chilly in the morning, I would be wearing that under the M7 jacket. I decided to go with the M7 pant and jacket on this hunt just because of that fleece liner. Originally, I had a couple the M5 packed, and then the de Havilland pant and jacket, and decided to switch it out last minute for the M7, which was a good call, I think. I also had a cheap poncho with me. Again, in Alaska, you can expect it to rain a lot, and fortunately on this trip, we only had one day where it really rained at all. But having just something, whether it's you're sitting under a tarp or having a poncho to kind of keep that rain directly off you on these extended hunts is nice, because it really doesn't matter at the end of the day what rain gear you have when you're beating through alder and huckleberry brush for 12 days. You're probably going to get wet. Then I had obviously the waders and a pair of Wiggy over boots. We pretty much wore the waders every day. I had chest waders with me. If I could do it over again, I'd probably just bring the hip waders, because with the chest waders on, and then my bino harness and my chest rig with my pistol in it, anytime I had to go pee, I literally had to take all that off, and it was just a pain in the butt. I actually ended up rolling my chest waders down midway through the hunt. That way I could get them off quicker if I needed to, and it was much smoother. But Brady had the hip waders or waist high waders with him, and it worked out pretty well. Like I said, we had the over boots just in case we were wearing our normal boots or rain pants and needed to cross anything, but I think we used those a couple days as well. Footwear wise, obviously wader boots. I had the Crispy Mountain Brickstalls. Again, only used those a couple days, which they did really well in some of those wetter conditions, crossing small rivers and whatnot. And then I had a pair of Crocs for around camp, and definitely anytime you're going to be at a base camp, have a pair of Crocs or slippers or something with you. Really makes it nice when you're in and out of the tent and whatnot. I think that about wraps up all the gear. Again, everything here, I had it pretty organized and in either a little pull-out bag or dry bags to keep it organized, and then traveling we had it in some of the bigger dry bags. So just a good way to keep all your gear organized is kind of separate it per category, and then once you get to where you're going, you're not making a huge mess trying to figure out where stuff is. And with that Skydome 6P and 3 of us, we had lots of room to lay stuff out, and then our little shelter outside, basically anything we weren't using directly each day. We just stored out there. So yeah, it takes a lot to do these hunts. Collectively, like I said, I talked to guys that have done similar hunts in the past, so I kind of knew what I wanted to bring with me. But I would say the hardest thing is hitting weight, especially when you're paying per flight. You want to make sure that you can get there in the least amount of flights it takes. So I'll actually have Brady drop in a screen grab of the gear list here I have with all the weights attached to it to kind of to show you where everything ended up. And yeah, hopefully it makes it easier when you're planning something. I almost forgot, I did bring a book with me, Louis L'Amour. When you're up there and you're spending 12 to 14 hours a day glassing around, you want to have some form of entertainment, especially when you don't want to be burning through your phone battery watching movies or playing games. So as always, if you enjoyed this video, go ahead and like and subscribe. And if you have any questions about any of the gear we brought on this trip, go ahead and leave us a comment.